Good morning, this is Kris Shoemaker, also known as Yehudah ben Shomeyr, and you're listening to Coffee with Kris, the time of the day where we share a cup of coffee and share a bit of the Word of God. This is Wednesday, our fourth Sidra, our fourth Aliyah for Tavo, when you come, and it's taken from Deuteronomy chapter 27, verses 1 through 10, which reads, Then Moses and all the leaders of Israel gave orders to the people. They said, Observe all the mitzvot, all the commandments that I am giving you today. When you cross the Jordan to the land that Adonai your God is giving you, you are to set up large stones and put plaster on them. And after crossing over, write this Torah, write this law, write these instructions on them, every word, so that you can enter the land Adonai your God is giving you, a land flowing with milk and honey, as Adonai, the God of your ancestors, promised you. When you have crossed the Jordan and you have set up these stones I am ordering you today on Mount Ebal and put plaster on them, then you are to erect an altar to Adonai your God, an altar made of stones. You are not to use any iron tool on them, but are to build the altar of Adonai your God of uncut stones, and you are to offer burnt offerings on it to Adonai your God. You are also to sacrifice peace offerings. Eat there and be joyful in the presence of Adonai your God, and you are to write on the stones all the words of this Torah very clearly. This Torah, this law, this instruction very clearly. Verse 9, Next, Moses and the Kohanim, the priest, who are the Leviim, the Levites, spoke to all Israel and said, Be quiet and listen, Israel. Today you have become the people of Adonai your God. Therefore you are to listen to what Adonai your God says and obey his commandments and laws which I am giving you today. So what is the crux of the matter of this Sidra, this Aliyah today? Well, basically it's talking about monuments. What are monuments for? Monuments are to remember something, either to honor a person or to recall or remember an event. So these monuments are supposed to be good and positive things to remind us of something. And in this case, God's laws were to be written on these stones. They were to plaster these stones and etch within the plaster God's laws, make it discernible, make it very clear, make it very precise, and very articulated, so that when anybody entered the land or came on these mountains, they would remember what happened there. What happened there? It's almost as if God, they were married to God at Sinai as a nation, but it's almost as if they renewed their wedding vows, because this was the second generation of Israelites that came out of Egypt, right? So it was kind of overdue for a renewal of the vows. So this is where, in a sense, God married, so to speak, the second generation that came out of Israel. And so this was a memorial to commemorate that event, to always remember who they are, who bought them, who they're married to, where they came from, and who they serve, worship, and obey. And so whenever we set up monuments in our modern culture, they are to commemorate a special event, honor a special person that contribute a lot to our community or society, and they're supposed to be good and positive things so that we won't forget. What's the first thing that an enemy does when they take over and conquer a land? They tear down the monuments. They want to make it look as if this people never ever existed. And so we need to take care of our monuments. So it's a very disgraceful thing when we see in our nation a lot of these riots and a lot of these monuments getting vandalized and torn down, and sometimes they're claiming that these monuments say something or mean something that they really don't, because they're ignorant. They haven't really researched the history behind these monuments and what they stand for and what they mean. And so this is basically talking about monuments and what monuments are for. So what are the monuments in your life, in your culture, in your day? What are some maybe personal monuments that you set up? If you have a wedding picture and maybe your wedding certificate hanging up on the wall, that's kind of like a monument. It reminds you of when you got married. It reminds you of your wedding vows, things like that. A family Bible with your family history, that can kind of like be a personal monument. Trophies and awards that you've won can be monuments and achievements to remember the blessings and the goodness that God has placed upon your life. Guys, thanks so much for listening. Go out there and have a great day. Shalom and God bless.